When I left school, the idea of the careers officer was that we would get a job from 16 or 18, and that would keep us going till a nice retirement in our 60s. Recently, the UK retirement age for people from when I was born has been increased to 67 years of age. I've got another 5 years before I get anywhere close to that, but I'm not worried at all, and I don't think you should be either, provided you are taking some of your work income and investing that on an averaging basis, sometimes called DCA or dollar cost averaging, and allocating some of that money every single week to purchasing Bitcoin. The idea that you would give your future away to a government, that you would wait for them to give you a few £100 a week in order to pay all your bills, that's no longer a relevant idea. It's no longer an idea that holds any water or any sense of financial strength, because the truth is just not there. Governments are overspending all over the world, and they haven't been investing their money in sovereign wealth funds with a very few exceptions. And so governments are running out of money. In the United Kingdom at the moment, there is an enormous effort by government to say, oh, we're going to tax this, which previously was untaxed, or we're going to increase the level of taxation you pay on such and such an earning or what was previously privately held income. We're going to tax your savings. We're going to reduce the amount of money you can hold invested in stable coins. We're going to think of new ways to tax you that you cannot even imagine. And also, governments are saying, we're going to use artificial intelligence to spy on your bank accounts, your social media, and if we find any form of discrepancy between your lifestyle and your declared or previously declared tax return for the prior year, we're going to have you. We're going to take you and we're going to fine you extra for not having declared. Well, listen, if you want to give away control to central government, if you want to allow the spying technology of government to take advantage of your situation, be careful, because they will take what they want and then you'll have to justify to them whether that was the correct amount or not. And who's going to win if it's you versus the government? Easy answer. I don't need to tell you what it is. Let's go back to this idea of your employment. Let's imagine you earn 1,000 units of income in a given week or in a given month. But you say, I want to put aside a percentage of that. Let's say you put aside 10% of those 1,000 units. So every week or every month or every payday, you put away 100 units. You can put that money into cash and the banks will give you 1.5%, 2%, maybe a little bit more if you agree to restrictions on withdrawing that money from your bank account. Or you could put it into different things. You could put it into the S&P 500, the American Share Index. You could put it into the FTSE 100 or the FTSE 250, looking at the Financial Times stock exchange figures for UK companies, or wherever you're based, you can invest in that market. Instead, you could choose something like a Vanguard product, and maybe you get 10% growth on an all-world accumulating fund, where you give your permission to that organization to spread their money across thousands of companies, and they will receive all the income each year, and with that accumulated money, they will see you being in a position where your fund will grow, and if it's an accumulator, you don't see the dividends. If it's a dividend fund which pays out, you will get those funds. Alternatively, you could put your money into a REIT, a real estate investment trust. One of the ones that we use has an annual dividend payout of 15%, which I'm happy with because that's marginally over the realistic inflation rate of 8 to 10% a year, not the rate that you hear about from the government, not the rate that you are told about in mainstream media. No, They will tell you inflation is 3%, 4%. It's way more than that. It's at least double that. 10% is a good figure to think about, because inflation is the cost of living being shown as increased. In actual fact, it's fiat currency, it's the dollar, it's the yen, it's sterling falling and having less and less buying power week on week. What can you do then with your income from work? If you have a job, allocate, push aside 10, 20, 30%, but whatever you can, and every week buy a portion, a tiny portion of Bitcoin. At the moment, if we look at Bitcoin as about $109,000, $1 buys you 900, slightly more than 900 Satoshis, the tiny units that form or comprise a Bitcoin. There are 100 million Satoshis in a Bitcoin. Get as many as you can, while you can. At the moment, the Bitcoin price is down on the 121,000 it was. So you're buying more Satoshis. It will go up, it will go down. Don't fixate on the price at any given moment of the day or any day of a given month. Last year, a Bitcoin was $60,000. If it's 109,000 now, it's still 49,000 more than it was last year. The fact that it peaked at 121 and has dropped down to 109 is neither here nor there. People buy fearfully. People buy Bitcoin when they say, oh, it's gone up, it's 121,000, I need to buy a Bitcoin. Some people will panic when it's at 109,000, but the smart money, the thoughtful money, the dollar cost averaging money just buys a little bit every week. If you get those 1,000 units in your pay packet, can you use 100 of those units to buy some Satoshis, to set aside money to buy more investment for the medium to long term? Buying Bitcoin is not a short-term thing. Think 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but buy and stack, i.e. accumulate the Satoshis. For example, I said $1 will buy you more than 900 Satoshis. $11 buys you 10,000 Satoshis. Right now, those Satoshis are tiny units of pennies. But what if in 5 years' time, each of those Satoshis is 50 cents or $1, and your money has multiplied enormously because you bought when prices were lower than some people hoped or expected or anticipated, and you secured a financial future for the sake of taking some of your wage, taking some of your hard-earned cash and taking it out of a debasing currency, i.e. all fiat currency, and you put it into something which has an enhanced future buying power as everything else falls in value, you are the winner. Because things get cheaper and cheaper when viewed from the perspective of Bitcoin, it makes sense now to secure tiny little units, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 Satoshis. 1 million Satoshis is 1% of a Bitcoin. Again, at $109,000 for a Bitcoin, $1,090 buys you 1 million Satoshis. 1 million Satoshis is 1% of a Bitcoin. And you won't regret that as long as you don't sell it quickly. Think of it, like I've said, medium to long term. You're not thinking, oh, I'm buying Bitcoin to trade Bitcoin. I'm buying Bitcoin to turn it for a margin that might be a few dollars over a few hours or a few weeks. No, you're buying Bitcoin, you're securing and stacking Satoshis so that you have more financial control in the medium to long term future. And then you can take your job and do something with it because you built up a steady growing stack of Satoshis when most of the world is not looking. They're not thinking about it, they're not discussing it, and they're not thinking or realizing that the cost of living increases is about the falling value of multiply printed government money that they can turn on a tap. They turn the spigot they print more paper money, and every time they do that, the value of your savings in the bank, in the building society, is guaranteed to fall. Think about your job. Every time you get paid, put some of that money aside on a dollar cost averaging basis and secure your medium to long-term financial future. If you can take some of that money and you put it into a savings account until you've got $400 or $5,000, and you bought a mining package that generates coins, and you can exchange those coins for Bitcoin each time your balance increases, so that let's say you had a £5,000 or £6,000 mining package, and over the course of a few months, you buy tens of thousands of Satoshis, you're building yourself a really strong financial security for the future because you're being thoughtful. So think about mining packages. Think about allocating cash every time you get paid in fiat money and either transferring it to Satoshis immediately or buying coins that you can convert to Bitcoin because you have a mining package.